Ava, what's your mom's first name? What?
So all the sequels don't exist anymore. Good to know. There is no way this could be over yet.
He's waited for me. I've waited for him. Get out of the room! Get inside! You don't believe in the boogeyman? He's here! Michael! You should.
By the way, for the record, this movie is a sequel, not a reboot. So I don't know where anyone is getting the assumption that this is a reboot. Anyway, in 1978, a horror film was introduced to the world. A film that would start a movement. Halloween. John Carpenter's magnum opus is about a killer named Michael Myers escaping from a mental institution and returning to Haddonfield, Illinois 13 years after he killed his sister on Halloween night. With a cast that included Donald Pleasence and newcomer Jamie Lee Curtis, it used tricks inspired by Hitchcock films and created a film that was not only suspenseful and intense, but it also started a subgenre of horror known as the slasher film. It's a film that anyone can watch. I mean, there's no gore in the movie whatsoever. It's a film anyone can get inspired by to make their own horror films. It's suspenseful, atmospheric, yet acknowledges that it tries to be its own original thing. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time, and a movie that I highly recommend anyone should watch, especially on Halloween. It had a series of sequels. None of them are any good, primarily because the plots for these films rival a bad B-movie. I mean, look at Part 6, for example. Both versions. So after all of this, plus a remake and a sequel to the remake, it was time to wipe the slate clean and just say, you know what? The sequels suck. Let's cut the crap and let's give you a true Halloween sequel. And so here we are. 2018's Halloween, which I don't even know why it's just called Halloween if it's a sequel, but whatever. This new movie retcons every sequel and serves to continue where the original film left off while offering something new to the table. Michael Myers has been in the same Sam's Grove institution for the last 40 years. Yeah, you know at the end of the original film when he is shot by his doctor, Dr. Sam Loomis, and he fell off the balcony, and in the next shot he's not there anymore? Well, apparently he was apprehended sometime later on that same night and taken to the institution. 2 journalists are investigating him and want to know who he is. Laurie Strode, played once again by Jamie Lee Curtis, was so traumatized since that night 4 years ago that not only has she lived in seclusion, not only has she suffered 2 failed marriages, and not only did she lose custody of her daughter, who now has a family of her own, but she also has prepared for Michael Myers' return, setting up traps and preparing for his arrival. Why? So she can kill him for good. Well, her wish to get revenge does come true when the bus transporting Michael to another institution crashes and he comes back to Haddonfield to start killing again. And this time, she's ready. In the opening scene, the two journalists try to talk to Michael and show him a mask, and everyone goes crazy while Michael has no reaction. It's a nice way to open the movie. About 30 minutes in or so, the two journalists are disposed of in an actually creative way. I like this scene. 1, it's very unnerving and intense, and 2, we actually do see Michael's face briefly. Once that happens, he gets the mask back. And afterwards, the story goes back to Michael and Laurie. Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in this is really good. The rest of the characters, particularly the teenage characters, are horror stereotypes that are just created so they can be killed off. Speaking of which, the kills are decent. I mean, it tries to be like a Friday the 13th movie. This is fine. At least it's not the same knife kill over and over again like the sequels were. It's similar to Halloween 4, but that film doesn't exist anymore, remember? Anyway, as far as the story is concerned, it's a bit more in-depth than the first, but at least it gets you hyped up for the climax, which we'll get back to. We do hear a recording of Dr. Loomis, not voiced by Donald Pleasence, where he says that he would like Michael to be incinerated once he dies, and that he's an individual with no soul or anything. It's clear that he has no hope in a cure for him. No wonder why he tried to get him locked up all those years ago. In Dr. Loomis's place is Dr. Saltan. He is trying to understand him, just like Dr. Loomis was. He's trying to understand what drives him to kill. Is it something psychological? Something emotional? Or something else? He tries to ask these questions while simultaneously following the authorities, who pretty much know that Michael has escaped and are trying everything in their power to stop it. This movie does bring up an issue in horror films that I wish more horror films would try and do. For example, this movie tries to address that the authorities do very little about the situation. But of course, you want to know the ending. Well, the climax was fantastic. It was about time that the final confrontation had to happen. I mean, it's been 40 years since the original. But now, Laurie Strode is ready and out for her revenge. The pacing, the way it was shot, and the action was very satisfying. Some shots dragged a bit, I will admit that, but other than that, it was great. Alright, so now the ending. Well, I won't spoil too much, but I'll just say this. It was a satisfying ending, yet at the same time, it decided to not have any cliffhangers. So I'm glad that they ended it that way. Some people are like, well, there might be a sequel. No, it won't. Overall, I really liked this film. It's not as good as the original film, but it did the impossible. It obliterated the sequels as if they never happened, and created a suspenseful yet true sequel that feels genuine. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely check it out. Michael Myers is back, even for just one more time. And I do mean one more time. Happy Halloween, everybody.